Oh no. It double trouble, triple trouble time here. Mr. Autos does it again. Oh my days.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to our channel, and in today's video we've got the C63 here. So we've already done the B7 RS4 and the E90 M3, and this is the final one we're doing, and this is an American muscle car made by the Germans. So for those of you who watched the Top Beat episode where Jeremy Clarkson compares this to an axe murderer, and it says it tries to kill you every time you get into it, he's damn right, because this car is ruthless. This specific example is blacked out, and if you watch Crime Investigation channel, you'll know very well that an axe murderer is usually dressed in full black. The C63 was first introduced in 2008. This model, which we know now, is the pre-facelift. That ran up till 2011 before Mercedes decided to give it a facelift. That included a new front end, more aggressive bumpers, and front and back LED headlights. This then made the C63 W204 2.0, the one everyone wants and the one you need. It's reported that these cars can do 0 to 60 in just under 4 seconds, and that's thanks to its atomic bomb of an engine, mated with the 7-speed MCT gearbox. Now, whenever anyone brings up the conversation of a C63, the main focus is always why they badged it as a 6.3, but in fact it is a 6.2 litre displacement. The reason they did this was because their first V8 engine was actually a 6.3 litre. I think it was the M100 engine, so in order to pay honour to that, they give this engine a 6.3 badge. But don't let that make you think for a second that this engine has got any less grunt, because the power plant on this really is something else.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Oh, crikey, it's the Rozzers.
I'm not believing your story. It's not making any sense. All I would want, man to man, is just something to make sense. That's all.
That's all I gotta say. I mean, I don't, unless you want me to make up stuff.
Absolutely not.
There you go. Totally being honest. I don't have anything to lie. Like I said, unless you want me to add stuff to it.
Right guys, bit of a turn of events. Firstly, it started snowing, and secondly, we got pulled over by police because apparently there's been a black car driving up and down this road quite quick, which we know nothing about. But he was a sound officer, he's let us go, he said just take it easy, which we always do. But yeah, back to the video guys. The RS4 and the M3, they've got about 414 brake horsepower. This has got a massive 450 brake horsepower, so 451 to be precise, but that's almost 40 brake horsepower more than its competitors. And to make things even worse, it's got 443 foot-pounds of torque, which is 126 more than the Audi and 148 more than the BMW, which is absolutely massive. Now, in today's turbocharged society, these numbers might not sound like a lot, but on paper, the C63 is a submachine gun in a knife fight. So the question everyone wants to know really is, what is it like to own one? Well, if you're going to buy one of these, you're already factoring in that it is going to cost quite a bit to own and run one. But compared to cars like the RS3 or the M140i, which are pretty common performance cars now, if them cars are modified, I think that they'd probably do the same amount, they probably do the same on fuel as the C63 would, because with spirited driving, yeah, you're gonna get anywhere from 10 to 15 miles per gallon, but if you take it easy, if you haven't got a heavy right foot, you're looking at the 20-25 miles per gallon mark, and that is probably the same as an RS3 or M140. You have to remember, they are 2.5 litre, 3 litre turbocharged engines. Yeah, okay, their road tax bracket is not £600, which the C63 is in 2022. Obviously, whenever you're watching the video, it could have fluctuated, but at the minute it's £600. Obviously, if you put that on a monthly direct debit, it's not as bad, you don't feel it. And insurance is kind of subjective to the area and the age you are, so I couldn't really give you a figure on that. But these cars do tend to get nicked quite a bit because the parts are expensive to get, so instead of buying parts, people tend to just nick the cars. I've had one of these cars myself, and repairing it wasn't cheap. Well, in fact, it wasn't cheap at all finding the parts, so I didn't repair it. I actually sold it as it was because I couldn't get the parts cheap enough to make it feasible to repair. There's also Matt Armstrong, if you look at his YouTube channel, he's got a C63 at the minute. I think he kept it under wraps for a few months because he couldn't simply find the parts either to make the videos. So if you are going to buy a damaged one, you've got to obviously do a bit of research beforehand and see if you can get the parts, because if you're going to Mercedes, you are looking at a bit of a bump. Everyday driver wise, they're very comfortable cars, they're practical. You have to remember it is a Mercedes after all, and it's a Mercedes sports car, but Mercedes do have the perfect balance of luxury and sport. This specific model is a coupe, so I'd say this is the bachelor, or maybe if you're going through a midlife crisis, that's your option. But for someone who's looking for space, you've got the saloon or estate version, which are more than enough room for someone who's looking for practicality. And I mean, the car inside is really nice to be in. Like these facelift cars, Mercedes really upped the game when they made this era of Mercedes, because it was the changeover from their boring old dull sort of analog style interior to this more digital sort of more modern approach. Like the Mercedes of today have got, I think, one of the best interiors, and these cars were what kind of started that. 11 years later, you still are going to be in a nice place which you can really enjoy, and you've got the creature comforts that you probably miss out on in the M3 or maybe the RS4. The C63 is quickly appreciating, and and the pre-facelift start at around £15,000, and the facelift starts at around £20,000. But for a decent example that's had good regular servicing and it hasn't been thrashed, you're looking at 24k plus, I'd say personally. And some examples do even creep into like late 20s, early 30s. But I think for around £25,000, it's a real bang for your buck, because you're not going to get this kind of build quality, the sort of modern approach, these good looks, and a noise like this. Because this engine is really the party piece of the car, and I don't think £25,000 is a lot for this at all. Obviously, like any car in the used car market, there is going to be issues with it, and there's going to be problems you're going to have to look out for when you're buying a used car. So I'm going to give you a few pointers which you need to look out for, some common faults and issues that these cars do have. The first one being the gearbox. Now, there's a few different opinions on this, but a lot of people say the solenoids go, so you will have like high revving, you'll have slow gear change, you'll have jerky movement from start off and when it's changing gear, and there's a few other symptoms like you get a bit of an oil smell. This is something you really want to check if you're looking at one, because if the gearbox is on the way out, you're going to be hit with a hefty bill. Another problem you have, which is more on the early models, is the head bolts. I think in the facelift they did revise the head bolts, but in the pre-facelift the head bolts do tend to snap. They can cause coolant to get into the combustion chamber. Signs of this are that the EML light will be on in the car, and there'll also be a slight misfire. Obviously, as the problem gets worse, the misfire will get worse. So if there is a slight misfire, that is something to look into. Another common issue is the camshaft adjusters. Now, if these are going, the car will rattle on cold start up. So if you're going to view a car, make sure the owner doesn't start it before you get there and it is on a cold start, because if the problem is quite new, that is when you will be able to pick it up, because it starts off slowly when you're on a cold start, but as it gets worse, the noise gradually gets worse. Then you will start to hear it when the car's driving and when it's on idle, etc. Another problem is the air intake manifold. Now, this is made out of weak alloy, so it does tend to crack. Also, the center mounting plate that houses the twin throttle, that deteriorates over time. So the symptom of this will be that it'll run rough on idle. So if the car that you're viewing is running rough, you know what it is. The second to last issue I'm going to mention is the crankcase breather valve. This now deteriorates over time. It's just with wear and tear. This causes excess oil burning, so if the car that you're buying is drinking a lot of oil, or if the car you bought is taking a lot of oil, then I'd get this replaced. I'd do this as a precautionary measure even if it's not drinking a lot of oil, because some people say that you should incorporate it with the annual service. The final common issue you should look out on these cars is the camshafts themselves and the hydraulic lifters. Now, the camshaft just wears out with wear and tear. It's recommended to change them at around 100,000 miles. If it does start to wear out, it eats into the hydraulic lifters. So if the car's under 100,000, I'd probably budget to get this done, and if it's over, you'd want to check if it's been done or not. Also remember, with these cars, anything over 70,000 miles is considered as high mileage. Now, a few reasons why I think you should buy this car are the heritage and the following this car has. Ever since it was released in 2008, it was just an instant hit. So there's always been a community for this car. So if you do buy one of these cars, you're going to be welcomed with open arms, and you're going to have all the advice and anything you need to know about these cars straight away, which I think is a pretty cool thing, because it's almost like a little C63 cult. Another reason I believe you should buy this car is because of this. The sound. The sound of a C63. The C63 rated as one of the best sounding cars in history by enthusiasts and car fanatics in general, and I could not agree more. This car, it sounds like thunder. It really does. Obvious reason you should buy this car is because of the looks. This car is 11 years old, but it still looks just as good today as it did when it came out of the factory. If you put a private plate on this car and showed it to someone who's not a car fanatic and knows about cars, they wouldn't be able to tell you how old it is, and that in itself is a big thing because it shows just how well this car has aged. And I mean, who wouldn't want a car that sounds like this and looks absolutely beautiful? It's a bit of a no-brainer, isn't it? The final reason I'd say buy this car is because of the engine. It's one of the best engines there is on the market, and you're never going to get an engine like this ever again. Never going to get C63 is one of the last of the dying breed. The overall C63 is going to be a 2 litre, and being one of the last naturally aspirated V8s Mercedes ever made, it's only going to go one way in value, and that's up. Already you've seen the massive price jump in these cars, and they're not going to get cheaper anytime soon. So guys, it's been a bit of a hectic day. We got pulled over by the police. Halfway through the drive it started snowing, and Shaz has had to shoot off a bit early, so we didn't get the amount of time we did hope for, but we've got all the details and information we needed about the car into the video. But I know the answer you're all waiting for. Which car is the best then? The C63, the M3 or the RS4? So they were all made for one main reason, and that was to be the best driver focused car that brand could make, and they have hit the nail on the head with each one in its own way, because I feel like these three cars, they represent what that manufacturer, what that logo, what that brand image is all about perfectly. So the RS4, that is exactly what an Audi should be. It's fast, it's got tons of grip, and it's got a lot of character. Whereas the BMW, it can be a daily driver, but then when you need it to be a brute and get the back end out, it does the job perfectly. And if you're an experienced driver, you really will have a field day with that car, because it does exactly what you want it to. The C63, it was meant to be flamboyant, it was meant to be a bit of a maniac of a car, a good looker, an attention seeker, and that's exactly what it is. Which one would I take? I'm a BMW guy, but I'm gonna have to say that the C63 is probably the one to go for. It ticks so many boxes. Looks wise, it's still the best looking. The engine noise, the 4.2 in the Audi is a screamer. Like, it is a good noise, and the high pitched rasp in the V8 of the BMW is also a beautiful sound, don't get me wrong, but this 6.2 litre, you cannot beat the sound of it. It's gone down in history as one of the best sounding cars. It's one of them cars that when it came out, it was everyone's dream car. And then coupled with the fact that it's such a fun car to drive, like without the traction, you're constantly wrestling with the car to keep it in a straight line. But that's the fun element of it. A lot of people nowadays, they just like to go fast in a straight line, and that's about it. But that's not what a real driver's car is about. And this is a maniac of a car, don't get me wrong, but it is a driver's car. And without all the waffling, the C63 is the one to have out of the three. And get ready for next week, because we've got another C63 on our hands. But this time we'll be giving it a full send to show you exactly what the C63 is capable of and why you should buy one. There's going to be donuts, burnouts, point of view driving, and a lot of sideways action. So make sure you stay tuned and subscribe because you don't want to miss this one. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. We've got plenty more videos coming for you as usual. If this is the first time watching a video, make sure you like, comment, share and subscribe, and stay tuned for more. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. But for around 25,000, they're very comfortable.